The holiday season just wrapped up, Thanksgiving and Christmas are over, and around this time of year, it's always good to think about what we're thankful for. So in this video, we are going to be discussing what every MLB team and their fan base should be thankful for this year. We're going to go division by division, so without further ado, let's get right into this one. Getting it started in the American League East, and starting with the Baltimore Orioles, they are thankful that their front office is fully going for it this offseason. The Orioles have a lot of young, promising talent, as they drafted extremely well when they were one of the 5 worst teams in the league every single year, and after some really good years in 2023 and 2024, with more prospects coming up the pipeline as well, it looked like they had a bright future ahead, but then they had an extremely disappointing season in 2025 due to a lack of good pitching, but this year in the offseason, it looks like they are fully going for it. They brought in Pete Alonso to be a big power bat at first. Ryan Helsley is going to be their closer until Felix Bautista comes back, and then he can be a setup guy. And they just re-signed Zach Eflin, and Trevor Rogers looked really good at the end of last year. So if they can bring in another starter or two who is capable right now and not 5 years ago, then they could really be a contender again in this insanely difficult American League East. The Boston Red Sox are thankful that Rafael Devers left, and if you told this to a Red Sox fan before the season started, or even when this trade transpired, it would not sit well, but as soon as he was traded, they turned their season around and were able to make the playoffs. So as weird as this may sound, the Boston Red Sox are thankful that Craig Breslow traded their best hitter, even though the big piece in that deal was traded a couple months later for a rental starting pitcher who didn't start a playoff game for you. The New York Yankees are thankful for the fact that they have the best hitter in the world on their team. Aaron Judge is a generational talent that we don't see often. The guy averages 50 home runs a year. He won the batting title last year as well. He's won 3 MVPs in the last 4 years. It truly is unbelievable, and even though the Yankees haven't won World Series since 2009, at least they know they have one of the best hitters of this generation playing for them every single day. The Tampa Bay Rays are thankful that Tropicana Field was just repaired. Even though Rays fans didn't really like the Trop, it's still their stadium, and I don't think any team wants to play in the spring training complex of their division rivals. Plus, George Steinbrenner Field completely messed with their schedule. It is a stadium in the middle of Florida, and it doesn't have a roof, so it can get very, very hot. So they had to play the majority of their games in the spring and fall at home, and then when they wanted to play at home in the summer, they had to play all-night games, which meant not a lot of weekend series, so that didn't make things any easier with attendance, and it's also a minor league field designed to be like Yankee Stadium, just smaller, so it isn't really efficient for a major league team to use year-round. That being said, the Trop's roof was just repaired, so they are thankful that they finally have their own stadium back. Final AL East team, and we have the Toronto Blue Jays, who are thankful for the entire 2025 season. This year was truly magical for the Jays. They went from last in this division last year to literally being 2 outs away from a World Series championship or Isaiah Kiner-Falefa taking a secondary lead, and while that series did not end the way they wanted to, they were still able to get there, which is really impressive, and now they have a lot of stuff to look forward to. They have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. locked up for a long period of time. They have a young kid in Trey Savage who pitched phenomenally in the playoffs, and they just signed a big arm to help that rotation in the form of Dylan Cease. If you want any more opinions on that signing, check out the latest Today's Pastime video on my channel. Moving on to the American League Central, and the Detroit Tigers are thankful that they have one of the 2 best pitchers on the planet, Tarik Skubal. We'll get to the other best pitcher on the planet in a few minutes here, but Tarik Skubal has really helped a Tigers team that has made the playoffs the last 2 years, because before that, they had been a laughable team. The Javier Baez contract looked like a huge overpay for absolutely nothing, and the couple years in the early 2010s where they were really good, it just looked like they were wasting Miggy's career after that, but now they have a guy in Tarik Skubal, and they built a good team around him. Now they're just hoping they can keep him. The Cleveland Guardians are thankful for Stephen Vogt. Look, Terry Francona is great. He seems like a really nice guy, and obviously he's a great coach, but I understand why he needed to go. He had a lot of health complications and was away from the team a lot, so they hired the newly retired at the time Stephen Vogt, and it was kind of a shocking move. Vogt had only retired a year before he got this job, and we knew he was a good clubhouse guy when he was a player, but we didn't know how he would run a team. Now, he had led this team to the playoffs in his first 2 years as a manager in probably the two most opposite ways ever. His first year as manager, they won the division and were clearly the best team in that AL Central. Then this year, the Tigers dominated the league in the first half of the year. They were the best team in the league. But then the Guardians came all the way back from 17 and a half games back in the division to win it over the Tigers. Even though the Tigers beat them in the wild card round, that comeback was really insane, and that's what they're thankful for this year. The Kansas City Royals are thankful that they have the best shortstop in the league on their roster, Bobby Witt Jr. Witt was a promising prospect, but I don't think anyone expected him to be this good. He almost won an MVP in 2024, and then he put up ridiculous numbers again in 2025. He is truly a franchise guy for this Royal team, and they have him locked up for a long time. They are very lucky and thankful to have him on this roster. The Minnesota Twins are thankful that Byron Buxton hasn't left yet and that he doesn't want to leave. This year at the trade deadline, the Twins traded almost everyone away, and there's a good chance they trade Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan this offseason, and there's been rumors circulating around Byron Buxton, especially in the beginning of the offseason, but it's not going to happen. At the trade deadline, and I think at the All-Star Village, Buxton said he was not going to waive his no-trade clause, and I don't think anything has changed on that front. He will be staying in Minnesota for at least next year, and so the Twins are thankful that he hasn't decided to leave yet. Final team in this division, and the Chicago White Sox are thankful that they are no longer the worst team of all time. Obviously, they still have the record, but they went from the worst team of all time in 2024 to still a bad team in 25, but not even the worst team in the league. That was the Rockies, so that's what the White Sox are thankful for, and that will complete the American League Central. Moving on to the AL West, and the Seattle Mariners are thankful for Cal Raleigh turning into the best catcher in the league. It really is unbelievable how Cal all of a sudden just hit 60 home runs out of nowhere. I drafted him in my fantasy league in, I believe, the 14th round because I knew he was a really good defender and had hit some big home runs in the past, and he ended up basically winning my league for me. He's just so good. He doesn't let balls pass him behind the plate. He hits for insane power. The contact numbers aren't great, but everything else outweighs it. He's the best catcher in the league, and it's not even close. The Houston Astros are thankful that even though they missed the playoffs this year for the first time in a while, they are still very much contenders. Even though they have lost the guys from their 2017 team like Bregman, Springer, Gurriel, and JV, they still have Altuve. They just got Correa back at the deadline this year. Jeremy Pena is looking like a really good player, and Hunter Brown looks like a complete ace. They could make a run in the playoffs next year, and I don't think anyone would be surprised, and they are thankful for that this year. The Texas Rangers are thankful for the 2023 season. That season feels like a fever dream at this point. In 2022, the Rangers were not a very good team, and then in the offseason, the only big move they made was signing Jacob deGrom, and he only pitched in 6 games. I know they had some guys come up from the minors and produce, but I truly don't know why this team was so good in 2023 and then completely fell off a cliff in 2024, and then they weren't good again this past year. It truly doesn't make sense to me, so I think the Rangers are just thankful they finally got over that hump and won that World Series title. The formerly Oakland, currently Sacramento, soon-to-be Las Vegas Athletics are thankful that they have some really good young guys on offense with more coming up the pipeline, so they don't have to think about how terrible of an owner John Fisher is all the time. Even though they're playing in a minor league park and their pitching is pretty terrible, they have a pretty good and exciting lineup. Obviously, Nick Kurtz is just insanely good. Jacob Wilson is really exciting and will probably win a batting title at some point in his career. Lawrence Butler is still a pretty good outfielder. Max Muncy has potential. Tyler Soderstrom has potential, and they just signed him to a long-term extension. Shea Langeliers was featured in my top 5 catchers of 2025 video. And then you have Leo DeVries coming up the pipeline. There's a lot of things to be excited about with this offense. Final American League team, and we have the Los Angeles Angels, and this is more so for the fans than the actual team, but they're happy that Mike Trout hasn't left yet. Mike Trout is a generational talent and one of the most talented players of our generation, and there have been some quiet trade rumors surrounding him for a little while, and Angels fans are just happy he wants to be an Angel for life. Moving on to the National League, and the Philadelphia Phillies are thankful that they are relevant and have a front office and owner who are willing to spend money. There was a good portion of time where the Phillies didn't make the playoffs for a while, and now most people refer to them as one of the most fun teams to watch in all of baseball, and that's all thanks to Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies ownership. They brought in Harper, Schwarber, Trey Turner, Zach Wheeler. It's very clear that they want to win a World Series sooner rather than later, and Philly fans are very thankful for that. The New York Mets are thankful for Steve Cohen and that he is not the Wilpons. The Wilpons were weird owners for this team, man. They owned a big market team but never wanted to spend money. They said they did want to spend money, but then they spent it on the weirdest guys. It just wasn't a good fit. And even though many things are going wrong with this Mets team right now, they're practically losing everyone, we're still thankful that Steve Cohen is here and willing to spend and wants to win for the fans. The Miami Marlins are happy that their front office traded every single person on their roster last year, and they have about 15 million young players with potential. Going into the season, I was predicting that the Marlins would have the worst record in the league, below teams like the White Sox and the Rockies, but they ended up finishing above the Braves in the standings. Of course, that was due to the Braves not being good, but this team showed some real potential with their young talent, and I think they could be competitive in a few years if they keep adding pieces to this roster. The Atlanta Braves are thankful that they have a generational talent on their team in the form of Ronald Acuna Jr. Even after 2 torn ACLs, obviously he's not going to steal 70 bases ever again, but he's still one of the most talented players in the league, and they have him on an insanely team-friendly deal. This is technically the final year of his contract coming up in 2026, but for 2027 and 2028, the Braves have $17 million club options that I'm sure they'll pick up, and for that fairly low price tag, they can have one of the most talented players of our generation on their team. The Washington Nationals are thankful for their young talent, plain and simple. James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassel, Dalen Lyle, Brady House, the list goes on, but they have a lot of guys to be excited about on this team that haven't entered their prime yet, and they also have Eli Willits to look forward to when he's ready in a few years. Moving on to the NL Central, and the Milwaukee Brewers are thankful that they figured out a winning formula without spending mass amounts of money. The Brewers had the 8th lowest payroll in all of baseball last year, and they were still able to make it to the NLCS and had the best record in all of baseball. They're great at scouting and finding diamonds in the rough when it comes to prospects, and they can also take guys from other teams that weren't performing well at all and turn them into really solid Major League Baseball players, so hats off to the Brewers for figuring out how to win in a completely different way from most other winning teams. The next 2 teams on this list, the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds, have the exact same thing to be thankful for this year, and that's that both of them made the playoffs. The Cubs for years have kind of been a fringe team, never making the playoffs, but either being close or people thinking they'll be close and then they're not. But they were really good this year. For a while, it looked like they were going to run away with the NL Central before the Brewers went on their crazy hot streak, but they were still able to make the playoffs, and then the Reds barely snuck in because of the Mets' absolute collapse, but they're still happy to have made it, and hopefully good things will be on the horizon for these teams. The Pittsburgh Pirates are thankful that they may have the best pitcher on planet Earth in Paul Skeens. We talked about Tarek Skubala earlier, but this guy is unbelievable. I've talked about it before, but he's just been so dominant. He hasn't even played 2 full seasons, and he already has a Rookie of the Year and a Cy Young, and I'm sure he'll win more in the future. And plus, the front office seems to be trying now, which is great. They traded for Brandon Lau, signed Ryan O'Hearn, tried to get Schwarber, so Pirates fans have something to look forward to for sure. The St. Louis Cardinals was the team I struggled with the most for this video, trying to find something they're thankful for, but I think they're most thankful for their top prospects, most specifically J.J. Weatherholt and Liam Doyle, who are both in the top 35 of MLB Pipeline's prospect list, so at least they have something to look forward to in the next few years. As we move into the final division, the National League West, we are starting this one with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they have a lot to be thankful for, so let me just list off a few things. They've won back-to-back World Series, they have 3 former MVPs on their team, they have a ton of money and owners who are willing to spend it. Almost every Asian-born player, whether it be from Korea, Japan, or anywhere else, wants to play for them when they come over from their home country, and the best player on their team is literally the most talented player we have ever seen in Major League Baseball, and has won MVP the last 3 years. Point proven. The San Diego Padres are thankful that they get to compete with the Dodgers. In the last few years, the Dodgers and Padres rivalry has become arguably the best one in all of baseball. It is tense, the games are close, and the teams absolutely hate each other. It's super entertaining every single time they play, and Padres fans are grateful that this rivalry has grown and it's a lot of fun. The Giants are thankful that Buster Posey is trying his hardest as president of baseball operations. I was shocked when I saw that they were hiring Posey to work in that big of a role because he'd never worked in a front office before and he was just a few years removed from his retirement. However, he's clearly trying to make this team competitive. He traded for Rafael Devers, he's signed Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, and other free agents to make this team as competitive as possible year in and year out, and I think he's doing a phenomenal job so far in that role. 2 more teams left to go, and the Arizona Diamondbacks are thankful for their magical 2023 run. This is the exact same thing that the Texas Rangers are thankful for, because that season was really a fluke for both teams. Out of nowhere, the Diamondbacks snuck into the playoffs as the 6th seed, and then they made it all the way to the World Series. They haven't lived up to expectations either of the last 2 years, but they still have that season that they can hold dear to their heart and remember it fondly. One final team of the video, and the Colorado Rockies are thankful that even though at the beginning of the year it looked like they were going to be the worst team of all time by far, they were able to bounce back and only lose 119 games, which is still abysmal, but it's 2 games better than the 2024 White Sox, so they will absolutely take that. And that will do it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. If you want to hear more from me about my favorite team, the New York Mets, subscribe to my second channel around the Mets. The link is in the description. Follow me on Instagram, that link is in my bio, and check out Around the Diamond Designs for awesome card designs. That link is also in my bio, but that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace!